Alright. Yo, what is going on, you guys? Bastion Wise, here, and I'm here with my boy
John Ford.
John Ford, my man, rocking the God of War hat. Let's go, baby. I do. So I know you got the sauce with you, the sauce, the spice, slap the shit out of me more than once with this deck.
I'm sorry.
What? And you took it to locals, slapped up people there. What'd you do? What you play? Tell us all about it.
I played Buster Blader Fallen Albaz branded with a little fight for in there to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So this deck, the Buster Lock is extremely powerful. You get it out so easy and it has a lot of synergy with this deck, like more than you think. So Buster Blader, I love cards from like the first original Yu-Gi-Oh series, so I just had to play Buster Blader. It's one of my favorite cards. We even beat a tier limit Ishizu full power, destroyed the deck because they can't use their monster effects or go into the extra deck if you get the lock off successfully, and it's really easy with this deck. So yeah. So I'm going to just go through the Buster Blader cards, explain what they do, but I'm gonna assume you know what the branded stuff does. If you don't, wrong channel. So yeah. So this is gonna be your normal summon of the deck. It is Buster Whelp. What this card does is that it searches a Destruction Sword card. So you're mainly searching out this trap. But there are other targets as well. You can also search this card, or you can even search a Buster Blader, but mainly you're gonna go for the trap. It is a tuner, so you can't actually synchro the normal way with a Buster Blader and this card, but yeah, it's gonna be your normal summon, just to search out the trap mainly. Next up, you have this broken Yu-Gi-Oh card. So what this card does is, if this card is in your hand or on the field, you can equip it onto a Buster Blader monster that you control. And if you do, your opponent cannot use the extra deck at all. So really easy, searchable, and with the Synchro Monster, you can equip it on very easily. I only played 2 Buster Bladers, one of the Destruction Sword version, so it is searchable and has synergy, and one of the regular version, because there are some cards that say Buster Blader exclusively, not a Buster Blader monster. But you don't need to run any more than this. To be honest, I was thinking about even cutting the regular Buster Blader out, but it is needed at times. Alright, now onto the fun stuff. So we have this broken trap card, Prologue, and the other counterpart, which is Memories. But first, Prologue, what this card does is ask cost, so they cannot ash it. Send 1 Destruction Sword card and 1 Buster Blader monster from your deck into the graveyard. So obviously you're going to send these 2 and the trap card, because this is the Destruction Sword card. Or you can even send these 2 if you want, but the main goal is to get the trap card in the graveyard. So you only play it at 1. So when you do that, the trap card's graveyard effect is you can banish this card from the graveyard to fusion summon into a Buster Blader monster by banishing the correct materials, which is a dragon and a Buster Blader monster. So you're going to activate this card, send these 2, and then you're going to chain, and then you'll get a fusion monster and a synchro monster out at the same time. So it's a really busted lock. These 2 cards are absolutely incredible. This card turns your opponent's monsters into dragons, and once per turn you can equip a Destruction Sword monster onto a Buster Blader monster you control, allowing you to equip this card onto a Buster Blader monster. And this card, so all your opponent's monsters are dragons, which means that this card says that no, your opponent cannot activate effects with dragon monsters. So just turns off all monster effects right away, and tier limits cry to that effect alone. Its other effects is it gains 1,000 attack for every dragon monster on the field or in the graveyard. So if they're like spamming you with a bunch of monsters and you get this lock off, like this card gained like 6,000 attack when I was playing against tier limits, because every zone was filled up. So it's really good. But on top of that, this card also does piercing damage. So it turns all dragons to defense. So this card just annihilates instantly. It's really fun if you get these 2 off. This card is very situational. You have to set yourself up really well. But obviously, if you can equip this card, no monster effects can be activated. They all turn to defense, and they can't use the extra deck. Right now in the meta, 80% of decks just die to this. So really, really broken. And yeah. So before we move on though, in order to get a dragon in the graveyard, hopefully you open this card so you can just normal summon to go into Linkuriboh before you're locked into fusions, because again, this is a branded deck as well. But your main thing is getting a dragon in the graveyard, doesn't matter which dragon, and having the trap card set. And that is the whole Buster Blader stuff. Really broken.
There you go.
And I also play one Trap Trick because again, you don't technically just need to use this card to search. You can just use Trap Trick to get it onto the board. So yeah, I would not recommend playing more than one Trap Trick, even though you're probably gonna be tempted to, because if you open up one and you also have a Dragon Buster in your hand, you know it just gets cloggy, it gets confusing and weird. On top of that, this card, don't let people cheat you if you're playing against this deck. This card has to be in your deck. You can't activate this card and get rid of it from your hand. So if this card is in your hand, you kind of have an issue as well. But
Got it.
everything broken, you know,
Yeah.
has to have like a little
Yeah.
caveat to it, you know what I'm saying? All right, so the Fallen Albaz branded stuff. So I played 2. For consistency purposes, I think 3 is just way too much. So yeah, I played 3 Tragedy. 3 of this, well, 2 of this actually. I actually cut 1 recently. Again, just for consistency purposes, I really want this card to be my normal summon of the deck. So, and it actually works out really well. I don't miss the 3rd one at all. 1 Drama, 1 AD, just for the names. This card for consistency purposes, and it is a dragon, which is really helpful. All right. Of course, 3 branded fusion. 3 branded opening. If you're playing less, I think that obviously you're wrong. 1 branded in red. You can play this card at 2 if you want. I've been thinking about bumping it up to 2 because I don't really see it too often. I do play 1 branded loss. I've been looking at a lot of branded deck profiles. A lot of people don't play this card, but it's really good because if you're going for the Buster Blader fusion monster, your opponent cannot respond to it because of branded loss. So offering protection for Buster Blader is obviously really good. And I play 1 branded banishment to end the branded core that I play. Really good stuff. Really consistent. Works really, really well. 3 Fight for Fusion. Obviously the Fight for engine. Really good in this deck. It's like a +2. I play 3 Allure. I'm thinking about cutting this card, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe play 2 Triple Tactics and 2 Droplets. Thinking about it. And 1 Call by the Grave, because why are you playing a deck without Call by the Grave? All right.
Card's busted.
Yeah, it's busted. Onto the extra deck. So obviously the Buster Blader stuff. I already explained it, and Link Karibo, just to get the Buster Whelp off the board. 2 Mirror Jade, 2 Tax Dragon. It's won me a lot of games. There's a lot of combo decks that are local, so I'll just summon out 2 if I have to. An interesting card in the deck though is this guy. So with this deck, even though your Buster Blader stuff may die, you can actually use this card to reset pretty much everything, putting these 2 back into the extra deck if you need it. And this card, you can actually fusion summon multiple ways with banishment or other cards that will banish cards in the graveyard, like this guy, to fusion summon. So you can actually go into this multiple times by putting it back, and this card as well with the trap card. Recycling is so important if you just want to keep going for the Buster Blader stuff. It doesn't come up too often, I admit, but it's there. The recycling stuff is there, so you can go into these cards more than once. But if you've gone into them already, and most likely you're going to win, sadly, for your opponent. One of this guy, one of this guy, one of this guy, and one of this guy. These 2, this guy does come in clutch, turning all your opponent's monsters to 0. But I'll be honest, I don't really summon these 3, but it can come up, and that's why I play them. Excuse the rarity. My tier limit deck has the higher rarity version of this card. I apologize. But this can come up. You know, pop 1, draw 2, whatever you want to do at that time. This card, it is a dragon. It's the card I usually send off Mirror Jade. Getting another dragon in the graveyard for the Buster Blader stuff. And of course Chimera, like I just said. And this guy is just very versatile in this deck. Obviously, using a fusion monster as material, and any effect monster. So I can, if your opponent's playing fusions like tier limits, you can use their monster to make this, and they just cry. And that is it. This deck is really, really powerful. A lot of decks can't do anything. Never underestimate the power of Buster Blader. I swear it works. Just give it a try. I love it, and I get to play a deck that has Buster Blader in it, so it's worth it at the end of the day, right? Who doesn't like Buster Blader? But excuse the rarity though.
Yeah, you need to get an upgrade on that. You did too good at that tournament and that not be a secret rare.
Secret rares are expensive.
It's
They're
just
all-
$10.
For lightly played, I want mint, and that's $20. I can get the speed duel version, but it's
Is there a speed duel version?
Yeah, the secret rare speed duel version of Buster Blader, and it costs $7. But you gotta deal with the logo that says speed duel on it, and I'm not trying to be
Oh my
that guy,
God.
yo. I'm not trying to pull up to locals and just. I got a speed duel card in my TCG deck. Then
It's right, it's
everyone's
legal.
gonna start looking up the fucking ruling and shit, like, oh, it's a fake card. I don't wanna
It's
go through it.
legal.
Nah, bro.
All right, man. Well, hey, Ford, thanks so much for coming on the channel, bro. Appreciate you. I know you busting ass with this deck, kicking ass at locals here and then again. So great job. Shout outs to you. For anyone who is wanting to play Buster Blader of all things, what is the main piece of advice you would have for these people?
Love your deck.
Love your deck.
If you're choosing to play Buster Blader, then you must love something about it. But like I said, works really well, very consistent with Branded, especially because Branded Fusion sends the stuff to the graveyard for free. So, it's a great deck. Give it a try.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much for coming on the channel again, Ford. Appreciate you. Guys, make sure you also subscribe,
You don't have to
like the
plug.
video. Huh?
You don't have to plug me, man. Yo, check out my channel.
There you
John
go.
Ford.
There it
We got
is.
66,100 subscribers. Definitely check it out. One of the top God of War channels on all of YouTube. First one in the world to have this hat. Shout out to the little boy Eric Williams for sending this to me. Hey, you got
Now, definitely go subscribe to this man as well. Biggest God of War channel out there. My man out here as well. All right. Peace, guys.